Hello, traders. It's 8 a.m. Chicago time on Wednesday, the 25th of September, 2019. Here we are, another day. It is episode 1603. Buenos dias, guten tag, bonjour à tous. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, the overall market stance is mixed. We have crude lagging. Crude is really pushing lower on signs that Saudi Arabia was able to bring oil inventories back to was able to restore production much sooner than expected. There are a lot of reserves, and there are ways to divert to get around the damage, I guess. In addition to that, um, there's an expectation that oil inventories will show a lower will show a higher build as a result of the attack and the corrective action that was done by potentially the U.S. government and so on. So oil is the laggard this morning. We're seeing the Euro stocks off about 1%, down 33 points. The DAX off almost 1%, down 112 points. The leader today is the U.S. dollar, the almighty dollar, $98.32.5 this morning, up 40 cents. The S&P is up 2.5 points, really teetering on unchanged. The Dow, the Nasdaq, and the Russell are all positive, just slightly. Just a few ticks here and there. Um, Mainly less than a rotation for them to go negative. Surprisingly, the Bund, the 10-year, and the bonds are all down. As you may have heard, or maybe not, yesterday the market just absolutely buckled under the news that the House of Representatives in Congress will move forward with an impeachment inquiry as a result of really what appears to be an admission by the U.S. president that he attempted to pressure the Ukrainian president to take some steps to help with the election, with the upcoming election. At least that's what he's being accused of. The surprise was that 100%, 100 out of 100 senators approved the measure to move forward with releasing the transcript of the call with the Ukrainian president. This is unprecedented. It went into a fast vote, and 100 senators approved the fact that this material should be released and the president should be investigated. This is a surprise. Market didn't like it. As always, the market looks at uncertainty as risk, and it prices in it moves value lower on risk as money seeks to go into safer havens. And so that's where we stand. That's where we stood yesterday. We did take out the low in this entire region of 29.59 by about 2 ticks yesterday. On the low, we got to 29.5850 in the S&Ps. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But that's what's on deck. That's what the market is paying attention to. They're seeing stability from the U.S. and so that's what's being priced in. In terms of what's been released this morning and what is ahead of us, there are several releases across Europe. But what's ahead is ECB's CUR at 10 Eastern, new home sales at 10 Eastern as well. These are all lower tier. Fed's George testifies at 10 Eastern, and Fed's Brainard testifies at 10 Eastern. We get EIA gasoline and crude oil stocks expected to be pretty mildly drawn. 249,000 barrels for crude oil and a surplus of 296,000 barrels for gasoline. And then we get Fed's Kaplan this evening at 7 p.m. So overall, the calendar is pretty light coming into today. Let's take a look at what we expected yesterday versus what we got. As you know, it's hard to predict that the news is going to take over and cause the market to uh, drop as much as it did. But the primary scenario was responsive. We were looking for the market to respond back and come back into the range, into the prior range, potentially bounce off of the point of control area around 29.97-ish or so. Expected a pretty balanced profile no matter what the plan, and expected some resistance in the 30.15 area. Here's what actually happened. The market started to play out, so I'll do it on the Renko chart just to walk it forward. The market played out scenario one. Scenario one, if you recall, again, here it is, a chop, a choppy descent into the prior range, and and that's what we got. We got choppy descent into the prior range. We pushed into the point of control, the prior day's point of control, 29.9750 or so, and that's where it closed. And we started to get our bounce. So this is what was expected: a chop, move to the point of control, start to bounce, push out of the range, which it successfully did right in here, and then push up and then go sideways. That's scenario one that was drawn. Somewhere in here, we got the news that House Speaker, House Majority Leader, or the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, was calling in the press corps for an important announcement. The market responded immediately right in here, held sideways. Nice little setup here against the IB low. I went over that in the Convergent Head Trader channel. And then we get the announcement, and then the market just pushes right to the prior day's low, consolidates, and then pushes lower and continues to push lower into the end of the session. So that's where we ended up. Overall, scenario one was on point until the announcement was made. Here's what the overall view was. Now, look at what we've done since we got into this area. This is the composite here. Let's push this forward. Watch how the market has been forming. So what I'd like you to do just for a moment is to just watch this profile as it forms and look at how the volume is being accumulated. So let's go back a little bit. We popped up on a gap. We started to fill the gap a little bit. You can see volume starting to fill at the bottom, but the market is quickly accepting and pushing volume higher. Look at that. So we start to build volume near the top. Volume starts popping up. We get an HVN at the top. Now we're filling in the middle, and we have this very distinct low volume node forming. This is where the 3004, 3005 area comes from. This is why this has been a very focused area in the last a week and a half worth of trader bites. Look at that LVN, and it's building underneath the LVN. So as long as it doesn't tag that LVN, we're looking for the market to continue to fill underneath and basically get stuck between 3,000 and 3,005. And then it pushes through the LVN, so it starts to fill in the high volume node up here, starts to fill that in. That's expected. And then as long as it doesn't get below 3005, we expect the 24 to go. As soon as it falls below, which it did here on this day, the 20th or so, as soon as it falls below, now we're looking for the 3005 to be resistance, and we got that 3005 through 3008, and then the market finally gives in yesterday and starts filling the bottom. So the market right now is actually underneath the other, let me clear this out, the market is underneath the other key LVN. So this is a key, let me see if I can write it, LVN, low volume node. You got to watch this area here at 29.9150 on the way up. Really important. You got to mark that somehow on your chart. 29.9150 up top, 3005. And then the MC point of control, the most traded price right here by volume is 3,000. And so as long as we stay below this 29.9150, we are likely to continue to fill in the middle right here. And the middle of that is this orange area, 29.81-ish. That's the area that's likely to be attractive to the market to balance out. So it might push to 29.91, pull back, and we may be stuck here unless there's reversing news. We may be stuck here in this area for quite some time. We're expecting the market to auction this area for a little bit. We're basically accepting the lower end of the microcomposite, three distributions in this microcomposite, the top, middle, where the point of control is, and then the low. And so I'm expecting it to kind of get stuck below this 91.50 area. And initially, this 81 is likely to be a magnet today. Okay, so this is how things look like. We had an impulse yesterday, an impulse down on the 15-minute, and the nature of impulses in general is a push. This is the impulse right here. I mark these usually with an arrow like this. We generally have a pullback around mid, and the low yesterday was a beautiful area along with the 81.25. Didn't quite get there. It stopped at about 29.80. And then the expectation is we're likely to continue lower. So we'll see what today does. Today is more likely to be a balancing kind of filling in day than a drop day. We're likely to accumulate some buyers in this area. Wherever there's volume, there's a buyer and a seller. There's never a buyer without a seller. There's never a seller without a buyer. And so we're expecting to accumulate some volume in this area. Again, between 81 and a quarter and somewhere near the low potentially today, and as far high up as the 91.50. And we're expecting to kind of hang out here, build some volume, and then start to move down to take out this low. This low is now public enemy number one in terms of targets on the downside. Does that make sense? This is how the auction is expected to proceed. And again, take a good look at the profile. You have a key LVN, upper distribution, middle distribution, lower distribution. The middle distribution has a high volume node at 81 and a quarter. That's expected to be a magnet. The cutoff point is 91.50. Above there is 3,000. Above that's 3,005, and so on and so forth. Okay, I don't see this as a big, crater that's about to take place, doomsday type stuff. But it's all expected to kind of work out to move in an orderly fashion. Here's what the overnight has done. The overnight was a completely resting kind of trade. We do have higher than normal volume, but the distribution of the overnight volume is just very bizarre. The market's not able to find any consensus. It is trading above mid, above VWAP back at yesterday's close. It appears to have found itself a temporary low here. There's a pretty good taper in the overnight on this low. This looks somewhat like a decent low, and we may go back up and check up above again, 81.50, 81.50 and 91 above. So the overnight session is not giving us much of a clue here, other than the fact that the market did not find any consensus versus the night before, where the market was completely balanced with a pretty tight value area with the point of control, VWAP and mid on top of each other, telling us that the market is coiling, and it may continue to coil, but in any case, we expect a break one way or another. We got it on news yesterday. All right, here's what ctbookmap.pro shows, which, by the way, I am doing a live webinar today at 11 a.m. Eastern to go over order flow using Bookmap. If you've been looking at this screen and wondering what the heck it's saying, I'll go over that. There's the link. Go to ct.pro/0925 CT Bookmap case sensitive. You need to register to be able to attend, but this is open to the public. Anybody can be there. Here's what we have overnight in the full depth view. We really didn't accomplish much overnight. We dropped about 20 points. We have pretty good range, but it doesn't seem to have stabilized at all. As I've said, the overnight session, the profile is just overall the profile is just showing that there's a trading across the board. Uh, However, what are the key areas? The 8150 has some long-term liquidity above there. We do have some long-term liquidity in the where is it? Oh, that's been canceled. So we had this really thick liquidity up at 95, 96, but what I'm interested in is this 91 area if we get up here. Not seeing much here. It's starting to build a little bit, but it's not really showing us much. Underneath us at 52, well, we do have some pretty decent liquidity down there as well. It's been there the entire session. So right now, the key areas it shows are the 8150 area that we've been discussing has quite a bit of liquidity that's been sticking around, and beneath there we have a 5250, 53 as another area of liquidity. It doesn't mean that it'll hold when it goes down there. It just means that it's likely to face some reaction. We might see some icebergs. We may see some anomalies in that area. Let's take a look at what we're expecting for today. I'll make this real quick. Today, high potential depending on the news flow. High potential for a balancing day, a squeezing day. I expect an open auction that tests down into the point of control at 66.50. I expect it to pop higher and start to test this 81 quarter area. It's a magnet. And then I expect it to just rest in here. I do expect a relatively balanced profile. I'm not expecting it to take out the low, although the low is not far. It appears it took out like I said, the importance of it taking out the MC low by 2 ticks and bouncing tells me there's some buying interest underneath those lows, and I'm expecting that's likely to show up again on another test of the low. I'm simply responding to what I see. The secondary is an open that drifts up, responsive buying into 81.50, a push down, hold somewhere in the middle, sit sideways, mostly chop. I would not get too aggressive today, and then potentially a close test of the low before the bounce back up and then sideways again. The third scenario is an open test down, drive up. An open test down, drive up as the market has potentially digested the news and is looking for cheap prices to buy. So open test down, drive up. We see an impulse expected to get tangled up here at 81.50 and then break through and start making its way to the 91.50 low volume node. I expect it to rest in here once the European markets close and then potentially drift up and take back some of the action that we saw on the sell side yesterday as we squeeze these shorts that stepped in yesterday. That's how I see things. It doesn't mean that this is what will happen, but I'm prepared for my key areas. Again, key areas are this 59 below the former low, the point of control today, the 81.50, the 91.50, and then from there it's 96, 97, and 3,000. Those are the big areas that I expect the market to respond in, that I will probably engage in and we'll see how things roll. Again, I want to remind you, I'm talking at 11 a.m. with Bookmap. I'm a guest on Bookmap. We'll be talking about stocking trades using order flow and how I set up my day. This is something that many of you may have heard. I know those of you who are at Convergent, we go over this a lot. It's basically how I trade. But feel free to register and attend. A recording will be made available. Good luck.